Ushers in a great new show. It's an all-new Saturday morning. You see it bien, Usher, Everett Usher. It's an all-new Saturday morning.
Hello and welcome to Classic Cartoon Rewind, the podcast where we provide audio commentary and watch-along tracks for cartoons published between 1940 and 1999 that are either based on or inspired by comic books. I'm your host, Carter Hutchison.
And I'm your co-host, Huey V.
And Huey, I'm glad we're sitting down to do another episode of Classic Cartoon Rewind here. It feels like it's been a while.
It's been a minute.
Right.
We haven't really sat down scheduling and stuff like that, so we weren't able to get on here.
Right, and we
got the big shows out of the way.
Exactly, but these guys have issues, and I've been starting a new job, so my schedule and stuff has been kind of weird, and probably will be until we're maybe in the next month or so.
Yeah, it's kind of hard trying to get
just
getting content out to everybody.
Exactly. So bear with us, please, listeners. We're doing our best there for you, but until the Patreon is enough to support my family,
right?
I still have a day job.
We still
so
have
if you want us to be on the ball with our releases and everything, help keep the lights on here in Grassroots Comics by
a little bit of change,
throwing a little coin our way potentially.
Skizzash.
It would be helpful. So today we're covering episodes 13 and 14 of the original Jonny Quest series. The first one being A Small Matter of Pygmies is the title. You can't make this shit up. It premiered on December 11th of 1964. So just to give you some other world events occurring at the same time, I actually have a good many for this first one. One I know that will probably spawn a conversation, but let's just go through these here. This week, the 1-hour stop-motion animated special of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer appeared.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, first premiere of that. Which I did see some, there were, of course, very positive reviews that it's, for the whole family and all that. And then I did see that there was a negative review in its attempt to, in quotes, modernize Christmas, which is weird to think about since, from our point of view, this would have, I guess Christmas was already modernized by the time we were even going through it.
Still a big thing,
Right, but I can see where, maybe that's, where the commercialism of Christmas kind of,
You're actually
started.
adding characters to Christmas rather than just Saint
rather than
Nick.
Santa, and yeah. So I can see a little bit of that. Okay, let's see. I thought this one was interesting for some little social commentary here. The U.S. Supreme Court struck down a unconstitutional Florida law that prohibited cohabitation between a white man and a black woman or a black man and a white woman, noting that Florida did not prohibit cohabitation between the same conduct by persons of the same race. The case of McLaughlin v. Florida arose when Dewey McLaughlin, a black man, and Connie Hoffman, a white woman, had been sentenced to 30 days in jail after living together in Miami. The court avoided commentating on state laws prohibiting interracial marriage. So, I remember a few weeks back where we were covering the same week of one of our Jonny Quest episodes, this city in Mississippi, integrated very well without, any outbursts of violence or something.
Right, yeah,
we were talking about how great that was to see. So, obviously still you see some story like this, that this is I guess the rooting out of some of the Jim Crow laws still.
Yeah. And you got to imagine how long it actually took for that
to actually do that.
There's still some laws
doing that.
There's still some laws that are
You could argue the drug war in the late 80s and 90s. You could argue and be correct.
Yeah, you wouldn't be incorrect about it.
It's right, that disproportionately affected areas of color.
It only really affected places
well,
of
it's why is this...
in the worst ways possible.
Right. Why is the time sentence difference between cocaine and crack? When at that time cocaine was mostly used by more white people, whereas crack was more of a problem in inner cities and stuff, which would have more people of color at the time.
It was a lot more accessible.
Yep.
A lot cheaper. Have you ever seen New Jack City?
Thing though is my like point. Like,
have you ever seen New Jack City before?
What's it called?
New Jack City. Mm-mm. Oh man, you've seen Scarface?
Yeah.
So this is like
not an accurate representation.
No, it's a black Scarface, and cool. So it's Wesley Snipes, and he plays Nino Brown. Mm-hmm. He started as a small town drug dealer,
but he's selling crack, though, right?
He talks about bringing crack into New York. Like the first, he's like, this stuff is going to be big.
Yeah,
and then throughout the whole movie is like his rise, and throughout the whole entire movie, they're playing Scarface.
Okay, so it's clearly trying to.
Yeah,
it's trying to be them.
But it's like the late 80s.
Is this like? Oh, okay, that was my next question.
Early 90s, late. Well, the movie's in the 90s, but it starts out in the 80s, going into the 90s, and it's like real big. You need to watch it.
No, I love movies like that and Blow and.
Yeah, I think you will love this movie.
Yeah, sign me up.
Because the white man's not the issue here. That's the thing.
Oh. Yeah, I guess that's true. That it
literally
was
a black man bringing all of these drugs into the city takes over.
So really, the issue is money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just the last thing I'll say about this, but one of my favorite quotes about like the toxicity of money is from Bob Dylan, where he says, "Money doesn't talk; it swears." Yeah, I like that line. Okay, so moving along here with world events, Martin Luther King Jr. was presented the Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo for his work in the American Civil Rights Movement. Dr. King commented, quote, "I must ask why this prize is awarded to a movement which has not won the very peace and brotherhood which is the essence of the Nobel Prize. I conclude that this award, which I receive on behalf of that movement, is profound recognition that nonviolence is the answer to the crucial political and moral question of our time. The need for man to overcome oppression and violence without resorting to violence and oppression."
Yeah.
That's an awesome quote.
It's a great quote.
Yeah, love it.
But, the thing is, like, is it really possible?
The last part, to overcome oppression and violence without resorting to oppression and violence?
In a certain type of way.
I think, like, Gandhi proved that, and I think MLK, to an extent, proved that as well.
Yeah. I feel like we have
God only knows what would have happened if he was able to, live a full life.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a Martin Luther King that was still like speaking in the 80s?
Yeah, I think that it takes somebody to be the martyr.
Unfortunately, I think you're right there.
And it takes somebody that needs to.
But again, that's just more violence.
It's more violence that brings out more change.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is it really possible?
But I could almost guarantee you, though, that if he wasn't assassinated, we wouldn't have a holiday or anything like that.
It wouldn't even be. I'm pretty sure it would have just been. They would still be fighting.
Yeah.
Because it took the death.
That sucks.
Yeah. You think about it. I mean,
that sucks. I mean, I guess that's really like. That is America's first sin to me, or original sin is probably a better way of saying that. And especially when the founding fathers were writing the Constitution, that was kind of the
oppression.
Well, yes, that all men are equal, except for like these, and these. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you grow up
like all landowning men are equal, but you have to be of a certain like race and social stature to own land.
And then you grow up in your history books telling you. And you recite this a lot until you get a little bit older in high school, and you're like, the whole concept of separate but equal. Right. And you're like, well, we were separate but equal. You read that in your history books, and you get older now, and you're like, that's
no such thing.
No such thing is terrible.
Right.
We're separate.
Yes.
But we're equal. It's just human beings to a certain extent.
Yes. The older I get, too, the more I question, like, look, we're both from the South.
Right.
There's a band called Drive-By Truckers that talks about this thing called, they refer to it as the Southern thing. And it is where, like, you have this heritage that in one part you are, proud of these, like, this kind of bootstrap mentality, right?
Yeah.
But then there's other parts of that heritage that you have to stare down the shame, is how they phrase it.
Yeah.
And so the older I get, too, like, I wonder why we, in the South especially, put up monuments to traitors, to a failed military coup. Like, I can't imagine another country. I'm talking about the Civil War.
You
Obviously,
can
here,
read.
right?
You can read up, and you know that it was the whole concept of what the Confederacy did was treason.
Yes, it's
So,
100% treason.
The concept that the
These are
Confederate
traitors.
flag is super American and everything. It's anti-American.
No, exactly.
That's the message they were
Exactly.
sending. It was anti-American, and to wave it around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, like the history of it is. Well, you
Yeah.
know, they didn't think they were racist at that time. They knew what they
Right.
were doing.
Well, the Civil War wasn't about slavery. It was about state rights. Fuck you.
The state. It's about the fact that you were taking their properties away from them and saying they could never use them again when
Right.
they're already used to having slaves do everything.
Yes.
We as like a country in an industrial boom, we know that a human is not going to be able to harvest cotton as fast as
a gin.
as a cotton
Sure.
gin. So obsolete. By the way, what you're doing is kind of immoral.
Mm-hmm.
We can have them work for us, pay for it.
It's un-American.
It's un-American, you know.
But
now
again,
it is.
that is the can that the founding fathers kicked down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could have addressed it in the Constitution, and they didn't, and they kicked that down for the 16th president to eventually have to be the one to fully address it.
Yeah.
And he died for it. Again, there's another martyr.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, that puts a nice little bow in that conversation. All right. This news blurb just to me like summarizes how fucking insane parts of the 60s were. So Che Guevara is giving an address to the UN. That's already weird, right? Okay. So Guevara was a guerrilla leader in the Cuban Revolution, and at this time was the Minister of Industry for Cuba, a part of the Fidel cabinet.
Jesus.
So during Che Guevara's address, an anti-tank rocket was fired at the UN headquarters in New York City by a person holding a bazooka. Police found the weapon on a street in Queens, mounted beneath a Cuban flag, and apparently fired by a Cuban exile. The shell fell 100 yards from the UN building and landed in the East River, where it exploded.
So what was the message?
I guess he
didn't even make it to him.
So he was a Cuban. What they say?
It's an exile.
Right. So I guess he was against the Castro revolution in Cuba. So
as most of them were.
Right. So I'm going to bazooka your Minister of Industry at the UN. That's fucking nuts, man.
You not practiced that before? Because
yeah,
little practice would have done something.
It doesn't sound
maybe
like
a little bit.
Oh man. Okay. At this time as well during this week, Sam Cooke, a very famous singer and songwriter, known for songs like "You Send Me," "A Change Is Gonna Come," "Chain Gang," "Twistin' the Night Away," "Bring It On Home to Me," and "Wonderful World." I love "Wonderful World." That's like one of my all-time favorite. Like
song.
whistling, just like random song. Like I'm washing dishes, I'm probably gonna be singing "Wonderful World." Not the Louis Armstrong one, the one that's like, don't know much about history. That one. Fucking love that song. Anyways, that guy was shot dead by the manager of the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But it turns out, like, I was reading more into it, and it's a really convoluted story, so I didn't want to go over all of it here, but it wasn't like a race thing. It was like the woman, the manager was a woman, and like she accused Sam Cooke of like potential like rape, but there's like, it's a really messy situation. Point being,
Jeez.
Sam Cooke was killed in Los Angeles during this week. And then the last two things I have are some celebrity births. So Bobby Flay, the famous American chef.
Bobby Flay.
Right? My parents are big Bobby Flay fans. He was born this week. And then this is my favorite. Terry Hatcher was born this week. You know who Terry Hatcher is?
Yeah, I know who Terry Hatcher is.
Terry Hatcher is my favorite Lois Lane from the Lois and Clark cartoon series with Dean Cain in the 90s. And she was also a Bond girl in the second Pierce Brosnan movie, Tomorrow Never Dies. So like,
yeah, she was.
So like, you're Lois Lane and a Bond girl. Like, you're top notch in Carter's
Apparently,
book.
she's like really hard to work with.
Really? I didn't see that.
She was in Desperate Housewives,
Desperate
and they kicked her
Housewives.
off. And yeah,
I can
it's
see
kind
that.
of like, I think from what I heard or read, it was kind of like Shannon Doherty.
Okay.
She's like people just couldn't stand her.
Right. I mean,
But she just did good work.
right. And I think any 90s boy will remember that poster of her that they put out for promotional material during this Lois and Clark series. It's her laying in like a bed with red like silk sheets, and she has like just the cape, the Superman cape, like covering her up.
I know what you're talking
It's
about.
sexy as hell. And like, I remember that was just one of the first like sexual images that, like, I can recall is Terry Hatcher wrapped up in the Superman sheet. Yeah. That's like my like guilty pleasure series as well. Like, I know
Really?
it's not that good, but I like it.
It's like if you, it's kind of hard that I know people that don't remember Lois and Lane, or not Lois and
Lois
Lane,
and Clark.
Lois and Clark, because I was just like, Lois and Clark was pretty dope when
It's
I was a
good.
kid.
Yeah. It's good.
Dean Cain, right? He did a
Dean
pretty
Cain,
good job.
Superman. Yeah. Yeah.
He was well known for it, though.
Right. By the way, if you don't follow Dean Cain on Twitter, you should. He has a really good Twitter account. And I remember recently when, like, there were rumors that Henry Cavill wasn't going to come back as Superman, so some people were, like, throwing other names out. And one of
James
them
Marsden.
was like, he's too big.
He's too big.
James Marsden's too big.
He's
for
got
Superman.
what was it?
Once Upon a
Once
Time,
Upon a-
which, by the way, apparently he was cut from the final, like, edit of the movie. I tagged Mike.
You
in-
did?
in that article, just to
It's
be
messed up.
petty.
He was just throwing James Marsden out
Right,
there.
right.
He was just throwing it. You just wouldn't let him have it.
Yeah, exactly.
He just-
Shit,
No,
where
really?
Where is I going with that?
He has a
though?
lot of time.
Oh yeah, so they were talking about other actors that could be Superman, and somebody was like, well, why does Superman have to be a white guy? Why can't it be like Michael B. Jordan? Like, wouldn't it be great to have a non-white person as Superman? And then Dean Cain commented on that list, and he was like, right here, man. I was the first non-white
non-white.
Superman. And they were like, oh, you're Mexican. And he goes, no, I'm Japanese, you asshole. like, why would you just automatically assume that?
Like, for the longest time, I thought he was Hispanic.
I can see that, but like,
He just has the
Right.
racially ambiguous bone structure. You can be like, oh,
Sure.
But he was so chiseled. He had the perfect hair
Yep.
to the point where he could play.
he's a great blend of all. Yes, yeah.
You just don't think about that type of stuff, though. This was
No,
the
I
'90s
agree.
too. It was the '90s as well, so
Right.
you could do basically anything, and
Yeah,
everything was
nowadays
experimental.
people would be more like, oh, Japanese American cast as, that would be the headline, right? As Superman, not Dean Cain cast as Superman. But yeah, to summarize that, if you're Lois Lane and a Bond girl, like, you're pretty high up in Carter's book. All right, so before we officially jump into the show, here is a quick message from our Patreon. All of Grassroots Comics is funded through our Patreon, patreon.com/grassrootscomics. For as little as $1 a month, you can become part of the Grassroots Comics community, which includes many perks, such as having your name mentioned in this segment of every episode of the podcast, the ability to suggest topics of discussion for shows like These Guys Have Issues, access to the private Grassroots Comics subreddit where members can continue discussions started on the podcast or start their own, behind-the-scenes access to the GRC studio, and early access to digitally released comics and Classic Cartoon Rewind. So it is the goal of all of us here at Grassroots Comics Productions that one day the Patreon is strong enough where we are able to produce the stories, artwork, and stop-motion animation shorts pitched and selected by the Grassroots Comics community. But the only way that becomes possible is with a strong Patreon. So if you feel that the entertainment value you receive from this podcast is at least worth 25 cents, then please become a Patreon contributor today, and with our powers combined, we can have all of our stories heard. All right, now let's get on with the rest of the show. All right, if you are watching along with us, which I hope you are, we have a small matter of Pygmies on pause right here at the very beginning. I am hitting play in 3, 2, 1, go.
I love Jonny Quest as a kid.
Yeah.
Cat's out of the bag. I loved it.
Really?
I
Okay.
really did love it.
Did you start with this, like, the original series, though, or was it the Real Adventures?
You know, it was like on Cartoon Network as a kid. I think they didn't have the Real Adventures out until like later in the 90s, I don't think. Right?
Yes, and
it was
early
short-lived.
Cartoon Network
Yeah.
relied on
Hanna-Barbera.
the backlog of Hanna-Barbera a lot.
Totally. And then they kept making stuff.
Yeah, and well, once Cartoon Network started making their own content, the old Hanna-Barbera stuff got shifted over to Boomerang.
So you still had like that.
Because they learned it was easily enough to support an entire network, because that's what Cartoon Network was originally doing.
So let's just give them their shouts.
Right.
Now it's like Boomerang has more of like their newer, older stuff.
That's
Boomerang,
a good way to
they kind of took Hanna-Barbera
It's the same characters, but it's like, be cool, Scooby-Doo, instead of, Scooby-Doo, where are you?
I think that What's New Scooby-Doo, when Sum 41 did the theme, that's one of the best themes. And
Yes.
Pup Named Scooby-Doo.
I was going to say, it's no Pup named Scooby-Doo.
Pup Named
but...
Scooby-Doo was dope, and the theme song was the littiest of lit.
Wow. Yeah. It was good.
So you can really like do a whole top 20 list on Hanna-Barbera alone.
Oh, for sure. Of
And
their
you're still
individual
not
series?
you're still not touching the whole crux of their whole thing.
Of the, like, action cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right that there's so many series that people just don't even think about, too, that's Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, Grape
Oh,
Ape.
there's the Panther from the beginning. I feel like we've seen that monkey before, too, with some of the previous episodes.
You think it's the same monkey?
I'm thinking it's like the same animation shot that they're just maybe putting a different background behind. Here's some classic Hanna-Barbera gibberish.
Yeah.
That's not a language I have found from my, like, watching some Jonny Quest documentaries.
They're like, it's just not at all language.
Straight up gibberish.
So would that be more offensive?
I think that's kind of offensive, yeah, of just like...
Let's just create a language instead of like...
I mean, it is like a tribe in the rainforest or something, you know?
So
Like
they're not giving you a specific geographical
No,
pinpoint.
at least that I haven't seen yet for this episode specifically. But, you know, some of them, like, you're very clearly in, like, Aztec, South America territory.
Right. So is he, like, drawing lines of how he's going to slash him open?
That's what that looks like to me.
Because I'm down with that. Let's go.
That's what that looks like to me.
Look, we
man.
unfortunately can't be too close because we don't know why, but we think that thing's going to eat us too.
Yeah. I mean, who's to say it wouldn't? A bloodthirsty panther that apparently has now you have changed its nature. Now it only eats humans.
Was that Sean Connery?
No, that's Javier Bardem from Skyfall.
Okay.
He's like, you have 2 rats. You put them in you have a barrel of rats, basically, right? And like you wait till there's only 2, and then you release them back into the wild.
You do a great impression of a lot of things.
Oh, really? I consider that impression not very good.
Yeah,
but
you do a good job.
I appreciate it, man. I did my Mickey Mouse at work the other day, and then someone was like, do something else. You have another impression? And I was like, oh, you know the worst time to do impressions? When someone asks you to do an impression. That's 100% the worst time to do it. Like, you need to just do it organically. If it comes up in conversation,
I just hate
that's
when
good.
I hate when people are like, oh, you a musician? You sing? Sing something.
Right?
Come on.
Dance, bitch.
Just do a little jig for me, boy.
No, man.
No, I'm not doing any of
Right.
that.
Right.
I'm not warmed up. I'm one of those singers that just don't want to do it on the spot because you put me on the spot.
Right.
You're a douchebag for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, you know, I think, you know, your main instrument's the guitar. Is that right?
Guitar, saxophone.
Cool. Right.
Singing.
Both of these, though, are things that you either, like, have at your house if people are over.
Yeah.
Or, like, but, like, no one wants to be that guy that brought a guitar to the party. Because then you're a douchebag.
Yeah. You're a
But
douchebag, or you're going to be the entertainment for however
yes.
long.
Now, if they're paying you, or like, that's a different...
You
if
better
it's, like,
have,
planned.
but you better have some impromptu music sets for people to listen to.
Yes. But that's why, in my opinion, piano is one of the best party instruments to know.
Yeah.
Because you can't take it with you anywhere. But if you show up at a party and there's a piano, you can be like, oh, I'm known to tickle the ivories a little.
Yeah, like if you have a guitar there and I'm like, hey, can I play it? Play. We'll play. Dang. Shout out.
Race? Yep.
Race is a good shot, man.
Yeah, he is.
Race don't be playing.
And as we have learned in previous episodes, has no qualms with killing animals. Like when that walrus is in the middle of the way in Arctic Splashdown,
Dude,
he's
just
like, you want me to
double-tapped
shoot
him.
it, Doctor?
Just double tapped him, man. First rule of
It twitched. Y'all saw that, right?
Yeah.
Y'all saw Panther came at me, right?
came at me.
I was defending myself. Okay, so we're doing Pygmies as a tribe. That was the name of a 80s rock cover group in Auburn when I was there. It was the Velcro Pygmies. They were big.
Were they good?
They were so fucking good,
Okay.
dude. They were so good. They just put on a hell of a show, too. Like, you feel like you might catch hepatitis C at their show, but, like,
Well, you said it's
it's
80s.
just, it's 80s, it's dirty, it's sweaty.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, like, the lead singer is in, like, his
Fuck it
late
up.
30s, early 40s with his shirt off, and, like, they would do this thing where they would have, like, a bag of lollipops, and they would give them to girls in the audience, but they would have them say, and with the microphone in front of them, they would have them say, I want you to put it in my mouth before they did it.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were playing in our fraternity house once during Parents Weekend, so there are some parents mixed in the crowd here, and
Oh, somebody's daughter got it.
somebody's mom, even better.
Somebody's mom?
Somebody's mom. Ryan King. Shout out, dude. Ryan King's mom.
He's sitting back there like, Mom.
Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it.
It's like, please don't go to my mama. That was a rough, like,
Oh, which I mean,
bye-bye for his mom.
Oh yeah. Which, to
rough
be
sit
honest,
off
like
those.
I guess the lead singer is probably closer in age to her than the other
I don't know
like
the
the other
excuse.
college girls. In
You don't
the
go to your,
crowd.
like, look, you send your son to go off to college to wild out. You don't go to your son's college to wild out.
No, I mean my parents would hang out there on like Parents' Day and stuff. Too. Maybe not to that.
Yeah, I
degree.
mean, to that extent,
No.
I'll be so upset,
Yeah,
so
that's
mortified.
pretty
But at the same
awful.
time, we have kids, so we possibly
Right.
often think about the things that we would do to embarrass
True.
them, or just like things to just live, and
Yeah.
they'd be embarrassed by that.
Right. Yeah, like I had to tell Val that the other day. Like I was like, if I ever embarrass you, like it will hopefully be on purpose.
It would
Like, I will
definitely be
I
on
will
purpose.
Well,
Yeah,
I can't promise that. I
can't
promise that
you
I
can't
won't
promise-
eventually do something
Like, yeah.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Can't promise that.
Don't provoke me. That's all
Right,
I'm saying. Don't
right.
put me in a position.
But if I'm like rolling down the window, being like, "Bye, I love you."
No, I did that on purpose.
Right,
Yeah.
Right. Make good decisions.
You have your milk ready when you get home,
Right.
V. I'm gonna like make up like a pet name. It's like, bye, Tootie, love you. See you later, Toot Toot.
Oh my goodness.
Give Daddy a kiss, Toot Toot.
Wow.
My kids will probably want to punch me in the face.
Your kids will probably know how to.
You won't do it because Daddy will embarrass you again.
Mm-hmm.
Take away everything. That they
That's
have.
true.
That
Yeah,
is true.
that's
They
true.
really have gotten out
This
of
isn't
tough
that bad.
things.
It's just a small matter of Pygmies. So we did see like actual Dr. Quest earlier, right? I guess has he been like alerted that they have been captured?
Yeah, because he wasn't in the plane with them,
Mm-mm.
right? No. Y'all gonna keep poking. Look, y'all gonna stop poking me, bro.
Yeah.
I'm race.
Eventually.
I'm race banner. I'll break through this little wooden stock you got me on. wooden stake, I'd take that thing down.
I feel like Haji was just tied up.
No, they had him close to it.
Okay.
They're starting to tie them up. They should probably tie him up because he's gonna easily run away.
Yes. But of course, if there was any character I would be able to buy that was tied up and then did some escape artist trick and got out of it,
It would be Haji.
it would be Haji. Mm-hmm. So I buy Haji levitating himself. Haji levitating others is a different scenario. It's hard to
See, now it's
explain
not
that
even
away.
it's not even a trick anymore.
That's straight magic.
I think he really knows he has powers.
Right.
In this type of world, I guess is really not crazy to think about
guess,
now.
but
You know,
I'm
you
all-
had
to
a
be honest with
huge
you-
condor in one of them.
Yeah.
That don't exist nowhere.
Oh wait, there's a pterodactyl here in the next
You have
couple
a pterodactyl,
episodes, which is
yeah.
a great episode. It's really good. But
I think
guess-
one of the most iconic things about this show is the intro and all like the little scenes that are just outlandish, like the huge eyeball with the spider legs and the pterodactyl coming down.
totally.
So you can't really think of Jonny Quest without thinking of that pterodactyl.
This somewhat outlandish sci-fi elements mixed with like grounded adventure series.
It's basically what Bond was,
Yeah, not as outlandish.
but not as
sci-fi
outlandish.
Stuff, right.
But I mean, like as far as a live
Well,
action,
not excluding Roger Moore.
yeah.
Maybe not outlandish.
But I would say, like, as far as you can take a live action idea, Austin Powers is when they made it. Made the idea of James Bond like
Oh, boy.
super.
Well, there's a Casino Royale movie from the 60s that's really basically the first Austin Powers movie. And it's got the guy who is the Pink Panther, not the cartoon, but the
Steve
inspector.
Martin?
No, the first Pink Panther. He's also in Doctor
that one.
Strangelove.
Doctor Strangelove is the Michael Myers movie, right?
No, Doctor Strangelove.
That's the Love
is
Doctor.
There you go. Love Guru.
Love Guru.
Peter Sellers, that's his name. I didn't even have to look it up. Yeah, it's Peter Sellers and Woody Allen, and it's ridiculous and it's super 60s, and but that movie's actually the reason why there wasn't a canon Casino Royale movie, Bond movie until the Daniel Craig's, because the rights were tied up to
We
the
talked
people
about
who bought
that.
that before.
We talked about that too.
Probably.
Yeah, we had like a long conversation about that. I think in a classic cartoon rewind.
Would surprise me. Bond tends to come up frequently with Jonny Quest.
You gotta be having the time of your life. Just an excuse.
I mean, I do know a lot about Bond,
That's your shit.
right? And it's nice to have an avenue to like.
Like if you guys are in here, there's like
I have like little corners.
Yeah, little corners with his Bond.
Well, different. Like the Shadow has a corner right there. Moon Knight has a corner. Spider-Man has like a whole fucking wall practically. Same with Batman.
It's
Batman
kind of
has,
hard
like,
not to have
wall.
a huge wall.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Bond's definitely got his little niche here. Like the posters are right above Bond magazine I have and Ian Fleming travel book, which is cool. It's like actually Ian Fleming talking about like where to go when you visit Los Angeles. It's good. Okay.
That's
He sounds very unhappy. Yeah. They gotta be able to outdo these guys, right?
Are these pygmies like off doing something with a large group of people, or is it like the whole village? Because there's no women.
That's true. It's the Smurf village there. There's no Smurfette to be found.
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Where are the chicks?
where are the ladies? You can't have a party without the ladies.
Where's the chicks, bro?
Because I was wondering, is it like there's a reason, or is it just like, oh, these pygmies, let's generalize them and make them all men?
Right. Okay, so apparently pygmy actually usually refers to adult men. So I'm just reading off Wikipedia here.
Okay.
The term pygmyism is used to describe the phenotype of endemic short stature as opposed to disproportionate dwarfism occurring in isolated cases in a population. So for populations in which adult men are on average less than 4'11".
Okay, so I'm not classified as
A
pygmy.
pygmy.
Okay, I'm
Right.
a few inches just make the cut of an average sized human male. Okay.
So yeah, the term is primarily associated with the African pygmies, the hunter-gatherers of the Congo Basin. That's where I believe we are here.
All I'm saying is their goatees, the ones that do have them, are on point.
It's the mirror universe. But yeah, that does seem to be the most fashionable facial hair for pygmies is the goatee.
The goatee, first thing you go to.
Rocking it. So those are definitely the same animation cells, just used twice. Okay.
That's a big...
Ooh. And we're right back to shooting. Race. His fans also expect a certain amount of quippage in every fight.
Deus Ex Rocky now.
Got him.
But if you don't put your head down, man,
Right.
get out of here.
There's nothing you can do, Johnny. Same for you, Bandit. Yikes. So this is definitely the episode with the least amount of Dr. Quest in it.
Yep.
Right. Oh man, I saw it. Let me look up the name here real quick so I can make sure to get this right. But okay, so it was Memorial Day weekend, right? This weekend,
Yep.
and we were traveling to my folks' place, and we passed this truck that had a giant Q on the side, and the name of the company is Quest Global Incorporated, which first off sounds completely like a shell company.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to call it? I don't know, fucking import export, like, Quest Global Incorporate. Like, it sounds like bullshit. But it just had me thinking, like, that sounds like a Dr. Quest company, right?
If you were to make a live action Quest,
Jonny Quest show,
Yep.
movie,
Yeah.
yeah, just use them.
Only do a show though. I wouldn't do a movie.
Oh, I would do a movie.
You do a movie?
I would do a movie.
Not a show?
No, I think it would work best as
Or a movie series.
Yeah, I would want to do a movie series. So, spoiler alert, we're gonna do a.
Yeah, I
once we're
remember.
done
I
with
remember
this
talking
series,
about that.
Right,
Yeah.
we're gonna do a whole episode where we pitch a Jonny Quest movie. But I'll go into later why because there's a connected universe. I think you could.
Just canon this or just made up stories.
I
Were we picking
would-
stories from the show, or are we picking?
No, it can be inspired by that. I wouldn't want to straight up adapt an episode or something. No, I think you 100% use Dr. Zen as your villain for the first movie, just with him being the most recognizable of the Quest villains, and he is a reoccurring villain a lot in this. He was in the giant eye spider one.
Yeah, but my thing is, I think you would have to go about it the way they did within the show and kind of introduce them later, you know.
Oh, where he's like pulling the strings with
I think there
one.
needs to be some like
and
bits
then,
and pieces of the actual.
That's fair. Yeah, you could do that. I think there's an organization in Jonny Quest 2, or maybe it's Birdman, but it's one of the action Hanna-Barbera cartoons where there's a enemy organization similar to Spectre in Bond that's called Fear. And it's an acronym for something.
Fear. Might be Birdman. That sounds familiar.
I feel like it's Birdman. Let's see. Yep, fear.
Oh
Let's
God.
see this person, man.
He's like raking them with these rocks, man.
Yeah, it is in Birdman. There's an organization called Fear. So you could use them.
Would that be so? That's like a crossover. So it's connecting those two.
So if that is an interesting idea to you, then you need to read Future Quest, because that's
I remember you
exactly
talked
what
about
that
that
is.
all the time, yeah.
Yep, it's a giant crossover of all the action Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And to me, if you're going to make a movie of this, and we live in such a world now where people want to establish universes and do crossover movies with them, do that.
I mean, I think if you make a Hanna-Barbera anything,
Oh, great, yeah.
the whole idea of a crossover is going to come
Absolutely.
up. You throw some Space Ghosts in there if you're going to have
100%.
Birdman in
Yep.
there. Throw some Great Ape, maybe.
Yep.
Just like, if they do Great Ape like that, they would have to do like they did Howard
like
the Duck.
Ant-Man, and yeah.
I would say like Howard the Duck kind of threw him in there in those movies.
Oh, okay.
He
It
was
was just an Easter egg in the background.
I mean, he was in the spoiler alert for those
Right.
who haven't seen
Well,
it.
no.
He's actually he pulls up out of one of the portals and he has a gun in his hand. If you like,
Oh, wow.
He's in the fight.
In game?
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
it's in the fight. It's
Nice.
back there
Okay.
because he was in Guardians.
No, the first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
The cutscene. No, not a cutscene. It was
It's
like
the
when they
after
actually.
credits, wasn't it? Or the
Was it after credits?
I think it was after credits, when like you go back to the collector's
Okay,
place,
yeah.
and it's all wrecked from the explosion, and he's there drinking a cocktail.
I agree with Watch Mojo when they say that the collector needs his own like thing,
As in,
just like a movie, not a movie, like maybe a show, maybe a movie, maybe.
okay, that sounds like a Disney Plus app
Yep.
idea. Hey, there's Dr. Quest.
I think Jeff Goldblum would come back and do it 100 times over.
Okay, yeah.
No, not the collector. Not the collector. The character
mean-
that Jeff Goldblum played. In,
Gotcha.
in
Right, because the
Ragnarok.
collector is Benicio del Toro,
Yes.
right?
He did a great job.
He did. He does pretty much a good job at anything. You know what his first major acting role was in?
What?
It's a Bond movie. It's he's the henchman in License to Kill. Timothy Dalton Bond, and he's really creepy. Surprise.
Yeah, I mean,
He's really sinister and creepy.
yeah, he has that face where he can be like a really like dope love interest or
Sure.
super creepy.
Right. Right.
villainous.
You can cast him as the love interest in a movie like Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Yes.
Right.
Vicky Cristina Barcelona. Vicky
Yeah.
Cristina Barcelona.
Oh. How do you feel about
She's
his character in
sangria
Star
and
Wars?
tapas. Huh?
How do you feel about his character in Star Wars and The Last Jedi?
I'm trying to remember the last. I saw The Last Jedi. Can't remember
He's
too
the
much about
one
it.
that they get to like break the codes or whatever for the. I keep wanting to call them the Empire, but they're the First Order. Excuse me, the First Order.
Man, I'm trying. I watched it. Karen made me watch it.
Okay, it's not
And-
great.
It's one of those things. Really trying to like remember the movie specifically.
Right.
I like Star Wars. I'm just not like, oh, hey buddy, how you doing? Dr. Quest is back. Hell no. Motherfucker tried to kill us. They saw us 5 seconds try to stick a goddamn panther on us.
So there's a small matter of a panther.
Small matter of a panther.
A fucking panther. Which actually, to be fair, Race took out pretty quickly there.
It's like Race had to kill a panther. I don't think that's legal.
Right. So
It's protective
I think
order
there's like
systems.
2 types of Jonny Quest episodes. There are your more like sci-fi-ish episodes,
Yeah.
and those tend to have more individual themes to me. And then there's your like the quest crew is in a jungle somewhere and they get captured by something and they have to escape And there's like that same kind of story, like because there's another one I can't remember the episode title, but you remember when Race had to like dye himself purple and was like in the water and pretended to be their like water god.
Yeah,
that's basically the same plot as this, right? So I don't know. To me, I prefer the like more like sci-fi elements mixed into the action adventure stuff rather than straight up action adventure with Jonny Quest. Does that make sense?
Was this like one of those shows where like it's directed by different people throughout the whole entire
Yes,
thing?
And different writers and stuff like that too. I mean, you can look down the episode list here and see like the Werewolf of the Timberland. Like when you get into some like almost supernatural stuff, I know there's like a Yeti episode too that's really good in Jonny Quest. There's an episode titled The Invisible Monster, which is almost unanimously considered the best Jonny Quest episode.
Really?
Yes, it's really good. It's got jetpacks.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
Right? It's got
jetpack or a hoverboard. You got me.
It's pretty fucking cool. Yeah.
This next episode, is this the next episode?
Dragons of Ashida. Yes. So that's a nice segue, Huey. Thank you for lobbing that up my way. So yeah, we're covering.
Alley-oop.
Right. Got it. Next, we're covering the Dragons of Ashida, which premiered on December 18th of 1964. So again, just covering a few world events from that same week. After a lengthy debate that ended at 2:12 in the morning, Canada's House of Commons voted 163 to 78 to approve the new flag of Canada, with its pattern of a red maple leaf on a white background between two red bars. I was not aware that the Canadian flag was that new, relatively.
That's very recent,
right?
In the grand scheme of
I guess
things.
maybe before it had still some like British, influence on it, since they were like a colony or something at one point, right? Like they were under like French colonial control.
Yeah, you have some parts French speaking, right?
Yeah. If you ask South Park, there's no Canada like French Canada.
Yeah.
You know that song? You remember that? I think it's from Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Is it?
There's no Canada like French Canada. It's the only Canada for me.
I don't think that's in.
No? Okay, it's probably one where they're like explaining where Ike comes from or something.
Yeah, but I do remember
Blame
Canada, blame Canada.
Yeah. With their
That's such
beady heads and floppy heads.
Beady
eyes and
floppy heads.
Excuse me. Yeah, so good.
Over cursing.
Right.
One of the greatest soundtracks.
Right. Yeah.
Oscar award winning, right?
I mean, yeah, those guys have a
Talented.
solid theater background. It's the same guys that did Book of Mormon, which won, Tonys? Isn't that the...
Yeah, it's Tonys.
That's the stage award, right?
It's like Seth MacFarlane. You're like, when Seth MacFarlane gets into like...
he came from a theater background as well.
When he gives you like music numbers, and it's basically the best part of the whole entire episode.
Shaboopy. Fuck that song.
It's actual musical, though.
It's so annoying and really catchy.
Because
it's bad combination.
But it's actually from a musical.
Like, that's awful. Why?
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do.
I'm moving along. All right.
Very glad Karen's not here. She is a music theater person.
Yeah, I know.
She would have hit you with like all of it.
Ugh.
Really? Ugh.
It's the same as like the bird is the word. Like once someone just like, you can hear that and then that song's in your head the rest of the day. I'm sorry, dear listener. Don't help me if you walk around with Shaboopy or bird is the word stuck in your head.
Daddy's home. I'm not coming home.
Oh, God. All right. Moving along.
A little American Dad.
So, also, from news this week, we have some space news. In space! So, the NASA Deputy Administrator, Robert C. Siemens, Jr. Bad name.
Right. So where are you going with this one? He looked at me like he was just like, Siemens.
Can I have a pizza for icy wiener? Ugh. All right. Mr. Siemens authorized the Voyager program for exploration of the planets of the outer solar system. With the go-ahead given, aerospace engineer Gary Flandreau calculated that Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune could all be reached over a series of years in a single, quote, grand tour program, which by 1980, the 4 planets would be in the same side of the solar system. And Flandreau would determine, quote, such an opportunity would not present itself again for another 176 years. So basically, like, let's start planning to do this. Yeah, it's like maybe 15 years or so in the future when the planets will actually be aligned onto the same side. But it won't happen again for generations.
So we only have this time to do it.
So let's do it. So Voyager 2 would be ready for launch on August 20th, 1977, the same year Star Wars came out, and would reach Jupiter on August 25th.
It's actually pretty awesome, though.
Right. Would reach Jupiter on August 25th of 1979, Saturn on June 5th of 1981, Uranus on November 4th of 1985, and Neptune on June 5th of 1989. That's pretty awesome that the like plans of this started so early. Okay, in U.S. political news, United States Congressman Gerald Ford of Michigan announced his intention to challenge Minority Leader Charles A. Halleck in January when the Republican Party members of the U.S. House of Representatives would vote on their leader. So this declaration of a challenge basically sets up the rest of Gerald Ford's political career, which is really interesting in that he is the only person in history to serve as the vice president and president of the United States without receiving any electoral college votes.
Really?
So how that happened was Nixon's first vice president was Philip Agnew. And Agnew resigned over charges of tax evasion and money laundering. Well, yeah. Which, you know, now that's like the Trump administration has done that before breakfast.
Yeah.
But
like, no, dude, it's...
But for real.
That's basically most of the lawsuits that Donald Trump has had.
Taxes and money laundering.
He's had like thousands of lawsuits.
Well, whenever they catch a big mafia boss, how do they get them?
RICO.
Taxes. Yeah.
Taxes.
RICO and taxes. Yeah, that's how they got Capone, was taxes.
They hit you with the taxes, and then they were like, oh, we can't really pin you on all these other things.
How many murder charges we have for you.
So we'll say, okay, so you have this charge.
Referring to Capone. I don't want anyone to take out of context that I'm inferring that Trump has had people killed.
No, yeah, right. For sure, of course.
He's a criminal. But I don't think he's necessarily a murderer.
But but throwing the whole idea of like, how do you catch mob bosses?
Right.
This is how what leads into a RICO case.
Right. You go after the money.
Go after the money first.
So, okay, so then when Agnew resigns, it's the House of Representatives guy that gets brought up, right? Which is Gerald Ford. And so then when Nixon resigns, he's vice president now, so he becomes president. So literally no...
It's just like he kind of got thrown into...
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, an unprecedented situation where you're... One, how... That just shows how corrupt the Nixon administration was, in that the first vice president resigned over tax evasion and money laundering, and then the president resigned over... you know, the Watergate tapes, which, by the way, and I think a lot of people forget this, and this is kind of relevant with the rumblings of impeachment that we have going on today.
Yeah.
The Watergate tapes were not, like, neither Congress nor the general public was aware of that when the impeachment trials began. Those came out during the impeachment trials. So impeachment doesn't just, like, happen, right? You don't just like impeach a president and then like he's removed from office.
It's a long process.
Yes, there's like big court hearings basically that are going to be held in the House and the Senate, and you know both of them have to affirm an impeachment trial, so they're bringing forth evidence and all of this stuff, and the like subpoena power becomes increased when impeachment is involved, which is one reason why the Democrats now might be like forced into it since this administration is, you know. Writing off subpoenas like they're porn stars that Trump had to pay off to not speak.
Right.
Yeah. But that just goes to show you that we may not still have the full story, but even in an impeachment case, you get more information as that goes along.
Yeah, man. Because you would have never known. It's like the whole
you wouldn't have the
with,
Watergate tapes.
It was
Which
like
is the
that
smoking gun.
You can go as small as like when Bill Clinton got impeached.
Right.
Even though he finished out his term.
Yes, because it wasn't, the House and the Senate didn't finish all the way. He was impeached, but he was not like convicted. Or I'm trying to think of what the actual word is.
The reason why is because he committed perjury.
Yes, because he lied under oath.
He lied under oath. So it was like, dude,
which I agree that's a problem.
That's a problem.
Right.
And it was such a small thing to lie about.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day. Today.
Right.
I mean, it's
in
politics.
The 90s, and especially the Republican Party in the 90s.
But that's not the first time. I mean, you remember Marion Barry? Marion Barry? Mm-mm. This is the mayor that got caught with a prostitute.
Oh, sure. Right.
And
right.
that bitch got me.
Right.
Got caught with cocaine and a prostitute.
Nice. And then got reelected.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then got reelected as mayor of D.C.
Yeah,
Fucking
a lot of people getting caught with,
Well, America loves a comeback story, too.
Yep, the underdog, man.
Yeah. We love a comeback story.
The Cinderella story with hookers.
Mine's going to be much better. It's going to have hookers. Oh, that's great. Okay. So, yeah, that's a fun little trivia fact for you there. If you ever get asked the question, who was the only vice president and president to serve a term without winning a single electoral vote, the answer, Gerald Ford. And we have one noticeable...
People just love Gerald Ford.
Do I?
People just love Gerald Ford.
Yeah, like, my mom still quotes Nixon as one of her favorite presidents. I just keep wanting to be like, why?
He's a crook.
Right. And the American people deserve to know if their president is a crook. Well, I am not a crook. And his nose grew 3 inches that day. Of noticeable celebrity births this week, Stone Cold Steve Austin. American
316.
Yep, was born the same week as Dragons of Ashida.
316 is my birthday, by the way.
Really? Okay. You're really close to my son's birthday, to Valence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so we got this on lock last time. Here we go. Okay, again, if you're watching along with us, which I hope you are, I've got the beginning on pause, and I'm going to hit play on the Dragons of Ashida in 3, 2, 1, go.
I feel like this episode can go either way. Have you watched this?
Mm-mm.
So I just feel like it can go either way. It could be, just by the title, you'd be like, okay, this is probably going to be like a big sci-fi dragons everywhere. It could be an organization,
True.
Terrorist organization called the Dragons of Ashida. So you go either way, just by the title itself.
I'm thinking we'll see that kimono dragon that's in the beginning title series sequence here.
Okay, so
I think we'll see that. That's just a guess.
Dang, man, that dude got it.
He did. That's a good death. You were being lifted by a mummy.
So those dragons.
That's what I bet you will see in this. Yeah.
One of those dragons.
But I am kind of hoping for some
sci-fi stuff.
Well, no, maybe more like some just to mix up the regions a little bit. Like let's get some actual in the Orient, right?
Yeah. I feel like maybe at this time they probably want to push and be too offensive and push away too much of the audience. Because sometimes, when you go into cartoons, they go into different regions and then they're like, "Whoa, this is what you guys think." So we were talking about Breakfast at Tiffany's earlier.
Oh yeah,
and
off mic before we started here.
Yeah, so it was like. Yeah, you can say it was indicative of the times.
Mickey Rooney, right? Mickey Rooney in that.
So it's that's pushing away audience. Oh,
boom!
My dude's correct.
Got it. Hey, and we even got the guy running.
Things coming full circle. Do 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 do.
Let's see. Gotta make sure my subtitles are on. Nope.
That is. Where are we?
In what region is that kind of dress? Anywhere, okay.
Nice.
Nice.
That guy reminds me of those two big dudes in Pirates of the Caribbean, World's End, which is my favorite out of the whole installment.
Is that the third one?
Yeah.
Okay.
The very long one.
Maybe I did see
the
that.
Big water battle.
The second and the third one run together to me. Like, I wonder if that guy that has the two dragons on a leash and the big, like, diaper with the big belt and an eye patch, I wonder if he's a bad guy.
The leather.
You think he's a bad guy?
And maybe he's just taking him out for a stroll. He's thinking about something funny, like an inside joke he had with his homie, and he's just like,
That was hilarious. And these dragons aren't fast, though, so, like...
Komodo dragon's actually fast, man.
Right, but not with this fat ass holding them back with a leash.
He must be some strong ass.
That's true, that dude would have to be
really
one hand.
There's some strong freaking dragons.
There we go.
It's Nosferatu looking motherfucker.
There we go. Yep.
If you look like Nosferatu, then you are the villain.
Yes.
That's automatic.
Yeah, the villains are pretty thinly veiled in the Jonny Quest series here.
It's really like no middle ground.
Yeah.
It's no like...
it's that brown person.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It's like you can tell by the eyebrows. Eyebrows are turning down.
How pointed are they?
Yeah. How long are his fingers? And is he, pressing them together and menacingly?
Right. Do you see his fingernails? He's a bad guy.
Don't have an American Psycho type of character.
No, we really haven't had just like a corporate industrialist or something. It's all like
a Lex Luthor type.
Not
of
Americans. Yeah.
And the Americans with their brown boy just come through and save everything.
Right.
Because the Pygmy thing, the last episode we just watched, the Pygmies weren't necessarily evil. You just kind of dropped in there.
True. And
it's kind of like that dude trying to go over to like that indigenous island in India,
right?
And gets like, shot up.
Give them the Bible or whatever.
Give them a Bible and some footballs.
Right. It reminds.
I was like, are we wrong for laughing at that?
No, because he's an idiot.
Right. And he was Asian.
You gotta stay in your lane, right?
Yeah, stay in your lane.
About, again, before,
hitch it up, bro.
It's my same argument for like why the Federation in the original Star Trek series are the bad guys. In that, like, Kirk and Spock will show up on this planet that we know nothing about, that has centuries of culture.
Just assume what they're doing is evil because
we're going to tell them their culture is wrong, and then Kirk is going to punch somebody, and then we're in a fight.
Yeah. I'm going to kill a lot of people because I personally think what you're doing is wrong. And so, like, when they walked into the Pygmies, they're trying to kill them and everything.
Yeah, they're probably doing that, like, ritual sacrifice thing for hundreds of years.
It literally has nothing to do with me. Whoa.
Harder, Daddy.
I can't take it.
Great fat fool. Oh, man.
I have an idea.
To quote Dave Chappelle, this racism is killing me inside.
Oh, man, I love me some Dave.
Me too. And see, to me, this is something that you need. This fits in with the, like, Bond mold, in that there needs to be a part where the Quest team are his honored guests, and he's going to show you how cultured he is with high tea. You know what I mean? Like, like a lot of Bond villains do that in, like, a very menacing way.
Just so you know that you don't need to fuck with me.
Look after Mr. Bond. See that some harm comes to him. Dracarys.
It really is doing nothing to you. Calm down.
Ah, there we go. Now I bet you it's not even close to extinct.
I think there's more to go around.
Whoa. Improved genes control.
If you have to put it in a
Improved in what
cage
way?
because it's angry all the time and trying to kill,
Right.
like it'll snap a stick in half, then you just
It-
created like dinosaurs.
Literally a monster.
You
Right.
created a monster.
Yeah. And nobody wants to see Marshall no more. They want Shady. I'm chopped liver.
That was beautiful.
So if you want Shady, this is what I'll give you.
Keep going.
A little bit of me mixed with some hard liquor. I'm done. That's as much whiteness as I have in me.
Oh, man, it's a great song.
Yeah. The video is awesome. Where like he's dressed as the Robin outfit and he's climbing up the side. Yeah, that's great.
Na 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 na.
Oh man, that takes me back to some TRL.
Right.
Hi, I'm Carson Daly and I'm a massive tool.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I can't take credit for that. That's Jimmy Fallon's impression of him from SNL. It's just Jimmy Fallon standing up there doing that. Because, like, what do you do for a Carson Daly impression? Like, he's so dry, anyways.
I like TRL and hated TRL at the same time.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch the whole goddamn music video. Let me watch the music video.
Oh, yeah, they didn't do the whole thing. That's
and
right.
I want to hear people go, I'm from here,
Mhm.
woo!
I love Good Charlotte.
It's like that robot chicken skit. It's like they did a TRL and it was like a music video that was completely unimportant, and they would just have like random people in a little box go woo, and they go to like another woo. That's pretty much how they. That's how TRL was. Yep.
Boys. Yeah, all right. So that dude has the eyebrows, the teeth,
Mm-hmm.
and the fingernails
The
of a
fingers.
villain. What? So
I think
is
that-
this
no,
forced perspective?
I think that was forced percent. I don't think
Okay.
that he was actually. Now maybe let's
Right.
see, because he has pointy ears too.
Gosh, wow.
Because Asians are
That's,
druid elves.
No, that's not good for anybody.
Yeah. Waiting for
Why not? Yeah, just a cage match with some. It's like dog fighting, you know. Somewhere Michael Vick's in the background.
They growl like
Just
lions.
kidding. I love Michael Vick.
They growl like lions. I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't think most Easterns want to see that too.
More Hanna-Barbera gibberish. Oh, cool. Let's just do those,
we can't
those same frames where they came out. Let's just play those in reverse for him going back in.
So much
That's
easier.
why you don't have to like show him actually turning around.
Saves money
Yep.
and saves time because we got to push this episode out by the end of the week.
Yep.
We got to get it approved.
And you know that was us before. We were talking about some of like horror stories of artists who were
Mhm.
working on this. That the art was so detailed, but the time frame was just not like doable in some cases to push it out. So that's why they brought in people from Flintstones, especially, to come in and kind of supplement
I
the
think
artwork that the Quest crew couldn't do.
I think a remastering and doing what they can do now with this show, masterpiece.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, there's so
Because
much
what-
great
what-
intellectual property here to mine from.
Mhm.
That it's screaming for some modern, and I don't mean modern in the same way that like the real Jonny Quest took it, where it's like, what if Jonny Quest met Tron?
Yeah.
Just update some technology, and like, to me, the key to its popularity is how do you address Haji in a modern context, and then make a more racially diverse cast. Personally, I think Idris Elba would make a great Race Bannon, and then at that point you have
Still Idris Elba and everything.
Right, but he's a older guy that you would believe was an ex-CIA agent or something, right?
Yeah, or Black Superman.
He is the Black Superman.
I can't wait to see that movie.
I
Hobbs
know.
and Shaw's gonna be dope. He lying. He's like, you've been defeated today. That's what that smile meant. I don't give a fuck. You got beat by me today. Those other dudes were not Mr. Bannon. He flipped him so easily, too.
Right. Oh, that's like that love interest of Ray said. You know, like, there's few men. There's not very many men that are Race Bannon.
Right?
You know?
Yep, because they're trying to kill us.
Because this guy's...
It's because you flipped him.
So that is an interesting concept that the Quest series does, is that a lot of times when they are in danger, it is a former colleague of Dr. Quest has called them to a certain area and is like betraying his trust.
Yeah,
so is
I like
that a
that
commentary on like the double-edged sword of science, especially at this point when like in the 60s everything, people were thinking futuristically.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? That like we're going to the moon for the first time.
Right.
We're that's why you have stuff like the Jetsons where there's houses in the sky.
And it's 2000. It's year 2002.
In the year 2000. And everybody's eating their meals through like pills and stuff.
It's basically sprockets.
Yep. I don't know, that just seemed to be part of the cultural zeitgeist at the time. But you still have, so there's all these amazing things that science can do for you, and then there's the constant threat of the bomb, which is only brought forward by science, the atomic bomb.
Yeah. That's why you need to play BioShock.
Oh, really?
Because it's that idea of like science supposedly making things better, makes things worse for everybody.
Mm-hmm. I would disagree with that statement, but
in this case,
if it's not for science, you die at 50.
That's true, but
like,
the
that's
same
nature.
science that you thought was going to make everything better made everything worse.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But when people argue against science, I'm like, okay, then I guess you're good with a 50-year-old life expectancy.
I would never
everything
argue
past
against
that
it.
is health and science.
I would never,
That's nature.
Yeah. So
everything past that is man.
So my kids are vaccinated.
There you go. Speaking of which, I saw today where Maine made it not voluntary. You cannot withdraw from a vaccination in Maine due to religious or personal reasons.
So it's like
mandatory. It should be. Right.
Well, the thing is, people are just like, you never know what those things are going to do to you. They give you a book.
I mean, yeah, the book could lie. Like, I get that part of not trusting the government, and like, I don't fully trust the government.
Well, it's not even the government.
It's
like whenever you go and get your kids vaccinated, they give you an actual book. Yeah, books can lie and everything, but my pediatrician's not going to lie to me.
Yeah, hopefully, assuming your pediatrician wouldn't be in on it,
No, it's not a money thing either.
Yeah.
We're not paying for this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're, insurance or something maybe, but
you tell me when the last time you had polio.
Exactly.
People are like, why do my kids need to have the polio?
Dude, I saw somebody on Mike's Facebook arguing about.
He was really trying to be like. He was really.
What I'm talking about?
I think this was like the one guy he was talking to the most.
He was like a firefighter, and asked like, when was the last time you saw polio? And I'll be like, fucking never, because of the vaccine. Like, it did its goddamn job.
Like, that's the point.
Right. That's literally what we're arguing about.
It's like, don't not have your kids vaccinated because you listen to Jenny McCarthy and she said that.
Oh, Jesus.
That doctor had to file malpractice, and he was sued and lost his he lost his whole thing because he said that autism is caused by vaccines.
Right, which has now been to be,
It's been
pseudo
debunked.
bad science. Yeah.
It's been debunked.
Bad science.
Have you ever watched Penn and Teller's bullshit?
No.
You never watched it?
No, but I assume they go into that.
They go into a lot of things. It's amazing. You should watch it. I think you'll.
No,
like
that
it.
sounds like Adam Ruins Everything or something. You know that show?
Yes, so it's
Okay.
Adam Ruins Everything, but with
I would not want to have gotten
which one?
caught
Teller
under
is
that.
the one that talks.
I think that's right.
With the way he talks, he
Okay.
curses a lot.
Yes.
It's beautiful. He does.
It's beautiful.
They talk about organic foods. Now that's bullshit. Talk about astrology.
That's also the same
Bing.
flip that you remember that you remember the
Threw him
you
through a
remember the
wall.
Double Danger episode where that body double the
Yes.
Dr. Zen is trained
Yes.
and there he's watching that footage of Race doing like judo flipping somebody.
Yeah, and that's the same flip
I
he did.
believe that's the same. So you just insert a different person into the over the cells of him flipping somebody, and it's the same thing.
Dang. Ben just like throwing his whole body at this dude. You
Yeah.
can't take it. I ain't never seen a hold like that before.
Oh.
Break the arm.
Surrender,
Surrender. Don't give yourself away.
Nice. This has had the most singing out of any of our episodes.
We can keep
here.
it going, man.
I'm cool with it.
One day we're just gonna have like a.
Congratulations.
One day we're just gonna turn on the recording, just have a jam session. I bring my
Nice.
guitar, you play your guitar.
There we go.
We do a little bit.
Ooh.
Things change. Whoa, okay, we're done with the judo. We're done with the judo. Like pulling out the burner on you now.
Hidden up his sleeve. I do kind of like his attire as being a mix of West and East, and that like he has a,
the
a tie,
tie and
the skinny tie for 60s, male fashion.
super skinny.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when
then
the
he also
hipsters brought
has-
it back?
Look, I'm not gonna lie.
You had a skinny tie.
Most of my ties are skinny ties,
It's practical.
but I'm a slim dude, so like skinny ties,
Big ties do your
big ties look weird on me.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
On top of it, the knot is a lot tinier.
It is.
It's a lot
It's harder
tinier.
to
It's not
do.
like huge and
No.
taking over your whole entire neck.
And I feel like that's a really 80s look to me. Same with like, those like blue button-up shirts that have the white collar?
Yeah.
That seems like something out of
It's
American
always
Psycho. Or
out of
like-
place in the 2000s for me.
Yeah,
If
it
you
looks
wear some-
really 80s or 90s. It might as
It's
well be
like
a three-piece suit.
Yeah, it's that or the cloud suit.
Right. Yeah.
It's out of place. Like,
But
it
dude,
may have been cool
Dr.
in the 90s.
Quest's suit, that's a classic look. That's why my favorite suit is my gray suit with a black tie. That's never going to go out of style. Also might be something that is close to the one that Sean Connery won in Goldfinger, but
Yeah,
it's,
well,
it's a really,
no relation to
No,
the whole
it's a
thing.
really damn good looking suit.
See, I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling myself.
Yeah, if I say so myself. And it's basically what Dr. Quest is wearing right there. Dun, dun, dun.
It's like, if you don't make it out, I give you a
Alright.
handshake. He pulls out a rifle and shoots both of those lizards.
It's like Indiana Jones
Yeah.
with the sword fight guy.
Deus
Well,
ex
okay, well, at
gun.
least they were basically imprisoned by that guy. So I would assume that if Grace did have a gun on him, that Ashida would have taken it by this point. So we can write that off at least. Right? Because they were holding him in essentially like a jail cell.
Yeah.
Oh, they're trained dragons too?
Yeah, like
Somebody
he
watched
took.
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yep.
What the hell, Race?
You just
What
love.
is your thing with boulders?
Yeah.
Or are we just going to reuse the same footage of him from the last episode pushing that boulder off? And just maybe darken the background?
You know, yeah, I don't think they'll...
No, I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah, that looks...
Because it had the log, too.
No, it just looks tinted, really. It doesn't even look like it was dark. It just looks tinted.
Wow. See, this is, again, why we need to, like, go through a series completely together.
Right.
Oh, okay. It's the same cave from the beginning.
I would also argue that it is with the time constraints and what they were able to do.
True.
I would say that using things that, reusing things is actually rather, genius.
No, agreed. It is ingenious. And again, it would revolutionize animation for television.
Because obviously you're not going to think about it at the time because it's
Sure,
the time and it's new. And you're like, oh my God, I'm waiting for the next episode. You get older. You've been in movie or in film school,
right?
So like you already know, and then just watching movies is just like how things have changed over the years. You can tell.
This is why you don't piss off.
I just knew it. I don't know why I didn't say this earlier. I was like, this guy's going to turn on him for calling him a fat fool.
Nice. But I think back to the limited animation conversation with Hanna-Barbera. They say that necessity is the mother of all invention.
Right.
If Hanna-Barbera had more money than God at this point, and they could just throw whatever they wanted to at it, you wouldn't have had to innovate in this way. So you almost wouldn't have this like massive amount of animation that Hanna-Barbera is then able to pump out, right? Like if you had to go through it, literally animating every single frame, like say 1930s or 40s Disney, that gets really expensive. So through their restrictions, they're able to innovate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's what I say is like genius. They just basically create their own style. And so you can see it throughout all of Hanna-Barbera up until, late 90s.
Right.
I'll say late 90s.
And see, I would almost argue that Game of Thrones had the same problem. That like
Really?
Yes, and that in the early seasons when they didn't have as much money, they had to like find ways to make things work.
Yeah, the books were popular, but only with the ones that knew about the series. So when the show came out, it was out for a minute before it got like the real big hype.
Season 3 is when like
the hype hit.
Yes, and when the money starts coming in for it,
which is crazy. But I mean,
there's no like. I didn't really hear about the books before.
I heard about the books,
the TV series,
when people started talking about the show.
About the show, exactly.
So like I tell you, like Ashley's the one that actually got us into it,
right?
And so she knew, like she read all of them, and she's known Dave for a long time. Dave read the books too.
Okay.
So like they both used to talk about it all the time.
I know that within the like fantasy world, the people that like love that stuff, it was well known. But from the general public,
no, it was just another show,
right? But then, you get to season 8 and they're spending almost movie budgets, per episode.
Well,
that you can...
Quality goes up when, more money's getting pushed out. I mean, at this point, they're selling comic books, they're selling toys, they're selling appliances with Game of Thrones on it,
But again, I think it's more challenging creatively to work within a confined space than with a completely open...
Because you just don't know where to go when you have a big area.
Point being, if you're interested in comic book writing and you're listening to this show, I would suggest not starting with like this grand epic that you have planned, right? Yeah. Some of the best ways that I have found to hammer out stories that I've written are these things that are similar to something called a future shock, which is this publishing house in England called like 21 AD or something. I forget the name of it right now, but it's where a bunch of very famous British writers really cut their teeth. And these stories are short. They're like 4 to 6 pages. There's a setup and there's a twist. So for you to set up a story that has a twist ending within 4 pages is a pretty hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So to me, if you're able to do that, then like you can flesh that 4-page story out into a 22-page issue if you need to, or a 6-issue maxi series.
It's actually it's become a thing, especially like social media. It's become a huge thing when people make their own videos that they're forced to do like a minute. At one point, it was Vine,
right?
Where you were forced to do things in 6 seconds, and some of the stuff that people would push out on Vine was amazing.
Yes,
6 seconds,
super creative.
Super creative. So it's forcing you to do that, and you're confined within 6 seconds, and whatever else you have in your house or whatever thought you have might not be such a big, big production. You could either stretch this out to like a big YouTube video, or you can keep it at 6 seconds.
Right
now, with like what you were saying about like start small, a lot of your favorite comic books started off with like a big, like Boondocks. Big thing, Boondocks. Started out with just a couple of panels.
Heck, Spider-Man is a mini story in that Amazing Fantasy number 15.
Right, yeah.
He's not. There's other stories than that.
A lot of people like think that like Blade really was like top tier Marvel until they came out with the movies, or until like that, and coupled with him being in the Spider-Man cartoon.
Yes.
At the time.
Your plasma.
Yes.
Because he can't say blood.
Yeah.
Because it's 1994.
1980s and 1994
was the Marvel Comics Spider-Man movie. First cartoon.
You couldn't do blood.
No,
so
it's
like
one of the most censored cartoons of all time.
Yes.
No blood. Can't look like actual guns. That's why the police have like these laser-looking gun things. It can't sound like an actual gun.
That's why the foot ninja in in
Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles are robots.
Ah, okay. And I guess probably Power Rangers too. The putty warriors. How they just like evaporate. Right? Yeah, when you punch them. Crazy. What a great and like weird time.
You gotta think about Funimation too. What they did with like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that. There was one. I don't know if you ever watched like the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh when they were like doing the dual.
I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh.
So they did this dual island thing with Pegasus, Maximilian Pegasus, the guy with like the golden eye. You'll see him like. There's this one guy. He was like American. He was American. He wore an American flag bandana on his head. And he
fuck yeah.
He cheated a lot.
Well,
America. America.
Fuck yeah.
He pulls a gun out on Maximilian Pegasus. When he gets found out, he loses. This is like a tournament to win $3 million, and you get to create a card. Okay. And he loses to Joey. He pulls out a gun. And if you ever like see it, Funimation, it's just him holding his hand up. Looks like he's like pointing his finger.
Oh wow, okay, that sucks.
They really do things come censored like real.
Yes, bad. And then sometimes
because the animated Spider-Man series was like it wasn't. I felt like it was more for like teenagers rather than just kids.
Especially with the continual storyline that they did.
It was but it was the 90s, into the early 2000s. They didn't really like try to baby anybody as much when it came to like shows.
True.
So like you got a lot more subject matter than you thought that you could
from
get.
a kid's Saturday morning cartoon.
Rugrats,
another example of these limitations being put on you creatively that forces you to do something even more creative that you wouldn't have thought of before. It's along the same lines of being over-censored. It was back when the comics code was like really in force, especially with Marvel. And it's a Nick Fury issue, I want to say. And it's Fury is about to have sex with this woman.
I know what you're talking about too.
And instead of just like showing like the silhouette or something of this couple in bed, it shows them like getting into bed, and then just one panel of Fury putting his gun in a holster.
Yeah.
That is all the imagery you need, and it's perfect. You got the point. That's also like the Alfred Hitchcock movie, North by Northwest.
Okay, I don't know.
Great movie. Like he's probably my all-time favorite director. The end is with the main character and the girl. They're on this train, and they're gonna live happily ever after, right? And they walk into their cabin, and the door closes behind them, and the next shot is the train going through a tunnel. Yeah, it's not that subtle, Hitch, but like anyone who would be able to understand what this is knows what this is in both of those cases. So that's, censorship proving to be something more, especially that Nick Fury one. Like that's a gorgeous panel.
I watched a documentary which got me
effective.
back into like comic books. I think it was like Heroes Unmasked or something like that. It was really nice, and it would go through.
I think I've seen this.
Yeah, and so that they talked about that.
Right.
They talked about a lot of stuff. They talked about like when they really started cracking down on everything. Like,
Well, and then Marvel eventually just said "fuck you" to the comics code. Like, we're gonna print our comics without your little stamp on it.
Yeah, it's like it's like comic books have always over sexualized the body, but they're really trying to stop it.
Right.
And like cleavage, you would just take the cleavage out.
Yeah.
Maybe just skin,
Blank.
no cleavage.
That's even weirder. I
It's
feel
even
like.
weirder.
Right. Yeah.
But people get offended.
Yep.
So you have
Classic.
to don't want to push away your audience.
Mm-hmm. Tale as old as time. People getting offended. That is. Maybe more. Definitely. That's a question for you. Are people more offended nowadays, or are they able to vocalize their offenses more with social media? How it just like, or is it both? It might be both.
I think it's a matter of both.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend that'll say like, it's not that people are more offended. I think it's just people just are not at the point where they're just gonna take what hurt them. And I'm just like, I think that argument works with certain things, but when we're talking about like a cartoon or something like that, because I think I posted something about that, and I think it was about like in a world that was raised on South Park.
Right. How are we so offended?
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah,
That's a really damn good point.
because South Park was offensive
To everyone.
to everybody.
No one is safe from South Park.
And you think about it, like you have the idea of like nobody's safe,
Right.
But then like, is that still an okay type of like mentality? Nobody's safe. We make fun of everybody. It's like
I think so. I think you have some anonymity when you can't. Once you decide that like, yeah, we're gonna make fun of everybody except for like this one group, then like you've cut yourself short, and you're going against the very like blood and stone of what your show should be, especially something like South Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
No, I totally
should be
understand.
right.
It would bring on a
It neuters
huge,
it.
Yeah, it would bring a whole level of hypocrisy in
Right.
that if you just
Exactly.
start
That's the
changing
word.
everything.
That's the word.
So it's just like, stick to what you do, make it better.
Yeah, stay in your lane, bro.
Just stay in your lane. And they built a lot of these people. I'm watching Rugrats with my kids, old school
Awesome.
Rugrats, and they love it. Hayden would love to just bring it up. I want to watch Rugrats. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's watch some Rugrats. And then I'm finding myself more interested in what the parents are doing than what the kids are doing.
True.
As a parent now, I'm
Right.
just like, there'd be some jokes in there that'll just throw you the hell off.
Yep.
Be a lot of sexual jokes going through there.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite things is like super adult jokes in cartoons.
Oh, it's most of the cartoons that we watch.
right.
Even
Yeah.
like Powerpuff Girls. Where he's like,
What's the like cross-dressing devil?
Oh, him?
claw? Yeah.
oh no, that would not.
No.
I don't think that it wouldn't work. I just don't understand why it wouldn't work. When most like generation that would be like, oh, don't show this, watch it as a kids. But there was one episode of Powerpuff Girls where they met this girl and Princess. She was like trying to be her friend because the Powerpuff Girls would be her friend. So she framed her for something, and then they were like asking. She was like, "How were they born?" And they're like, "We were born in a." He was like, "Oh, they were born in a lab experiment on accident." And she was like, "It's okay, Professor. My parents say I was an accident too."
Oh.
And then he looks and he's like, and all the girls were thick in that show.
Yeah.
Sarah Bellum.
Oh, okay.
This is Bellum.
One of my favorites,
Dick.
and then we're way over time we usually do, so we'll end after this. But one of my favorite examples of a really adult joke in a cartoon is from the Animaniacs.
That's so witty.
And it's an episode, or it's a skit where they are like detectives, right? And they're
Yeah.
looking for clues. and they're wearing the like Sherlock Holmes hat and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Wacko tells Dot to search for Prince, to look for Prince, right? And she comes back holding Prince, the singer, right? And she goes, look, I found Prince. And Wacko says, no, fingerprints. And like Dot and Prince kind of look at each other side eye, and she goes, nah, I'm good. That is filthy and really subtle.
So fucking funny.
Yeah, that's really good.
But you look at that show though, the properties that they were covering, it's Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of stuff is kind of hard to kid up a lot. The fact that you're throwing them into cartoons,
right.
But it's like old movies.
Well, Steven Spielberg made that cartoon.
Yeah, so. On top of that, these characters were from like the 30s, back when all that behavior was okay.
Yeah,
like the way, like hello nurse, like this,
right?
Like
true.
They're from a time period where goosing your assistant was okay, and she'd be like, "Oh, you're just
right.
You're crazy."
To show a woman that she did a good job in the office place, give her a firm pat on the behind.
Where's that from?
Family Guy, I think. Yeah. And he's learning his like sexual harassment.
Yeah. It was like dated.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, good stuff.
It is. All right, well, that's going to be it for Classic Cartoon Rewind today. If you want to keep up with everything Grassroots Comics, please like our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/grassrootscomics, or follow us on Twitter at GRC Podcast, or on Instagram just at Grassroots Comics. I have been your host, Carter Hutchison.
I've been your co-host, Hugh V.
And we'll see you next weekend, kiddos.
This has been a Grassroots Comics production. Da da da! So what's your story?
What are you? Some kind of silly cartoon?
You got a problem with cartoons?